Hello everyone, this is Bob and Threadbare, and welcome back to the Human Revolution. Now, where we last left off, we were exploring Picus headquarters to try and find the actual location of their one and only news anchor. And what's all this? Kinda looks important. But that's apparently not where we're going.
Richard, have you found Eliza Kazan yet?
Possibly. Back in room 404, I detected a holo processing cloud more sophisticated than anything I've ever seen. It was sent from an area of the complex that wasn't showing up on the 3D layout.
You found a secret lair.
A sub-basement level that somebody spent an awful lot of time trying to conceal. It's connected to the tower by a funicular. Look for a staircase in the back of the TV newsroom and you'll reach it.
Well, looks like we're in the TV newsroom here. Or at least we're in the editing room for the TV newsroom. And this is storage. Lots of cameras here, and sniper rifle ammo, what the hell? And a revolver? What the hell kind of footage were they trying to get? Alright, anyway. Yeah, to say the least.
Make the call.
But, you know, in this case, for whatever reason, they did not immediately locate me. They did turn on the alarm, though. You can hear that in the distance. But in this case, it doesn't really matter. Everybody was alerted. Nobody was talking. And that is a loud footstep.
We've got a hostile in the area. Look alive.
There we are. A heavy footstep. It's you. I'm gonna deal with you nice and special.
I got a body here. One of ours.
I think taking down one of those big guys has a unique animation. Because, you know, you can't do the normal stuff with them being a head taller than you are. Alright. That's one more down. Those guys are rather unfortunately blocked by this, not sure what you would call it, but it's the thing that all the lights are on. Lattice? I guess that's what I'm looking for. Oh, and finally someone pinned down my location, but it was just too late. Too late. Oh, good. Here's an alarm panel. Reset the alarm. Don't have to worry about that stupid noise. But yeah, you can actually walk around on this lattice, which is good because there's this security turret here that you know, don't want to have spot you. So I put it in the corner there. And yeah, this is the Channel 6 news desk right there. And it is in the same building as a whole bunch of, you know, the desks of actual journalists. The people who feed the news to the anchors. Although, you do have to wonder, you know, why would they put that in the same room as the studio? The place where they film everything. That does not seem like the wisest combination. Because you kind of want the news gathering crew, the news publishing crew, to be in a separate place. Oh, too little, too late.
Access granted.
Alright, that's another part of the editing room, I guess. Oh, and here's the Picus TV lobby. That's basically the floor we're on, is the Picus TV floor. As opposed to Picus Web, that's where we started, a few floors up from here. And those are weird little, I don't know, guest kiosks where you can access Picus News information. Well, theoretically, anyway. You can't do anything but look at it in the game, so... Anyway, if you were boring, and you took the elevator down, this is where you would end up. So it's a bit harder to, you know, ambush the news floor when you're coming in through here. Another password update that people forgot to clear out. And this one's talking about editing the Seraph interview to make Seraph look bad, of course. And actually there was another update there about workman's comp, because one of them got hit during a, while they were covering a riot in India, I believe. Alright, but yeah, you got your conference tables up here. There we go. And I believe that guy is called an ogre. Like, that is the type of baddie he is. Man, these guys just really sort of piled together, didn't they? But yeah, you got your meeting tables up here. You got your sniper rifle just sort of sitting there. Now that actually kind of makes sense, because that could have been something dropped off by the hit squad that nobody thought to use until it was too late, of course. And you got your important people's offices here. Sharing space because they aren't that important. Although it is kind of odd to share space with the security terminal. I mean, unless this guy is the security chief for this floor. You know, I could hack the stack, but it actually looks like it'll be faster just to do this normally.
Access granted.
Alright, that's the one camera it's connected to. Nothing to worry about with that now. Oh yeah, that's right. I burst through a wall and killed a man. And this is the wall I burst through. Yep, this is the third way into the newsroom area. Yeah, and that's the camera I disabled just now. And that's the back stairs up to the top floor there. Alright, so I think I've explored everywhere except the newsroom itself now. Yep, just confirming it, but yeah. And again, it does seem a little crowded to have all of this and a soundstage. And once again, we've encountered a lot of drawers. Oh, hello there. Security hub. Macro. Whoops. And... no. Let's set it to enemies. Maybe we could have fun with it later. Could have had some fun if we had managed to sneak into that location first. But, you know, There's always got to be a few different ways of finishing every map. Oh, and there's the exit to the funicular. You can see that there's actually a lot of cover around here, so you can very easily sneak out of this entire floor without being spotted by anyone. But that's not how I roll. So we're, taking a look at everything along the way. So here's the thing, is that on the web floor, the journalists had the idea of being biased journalists. But on this floor, oh, look at them together. Poor guys. Spending their last moments together. I'm not going to break that up. But, no, as I was saying, the people on this floor have fewer misgivings about using the news as a tool to manipulate the world. So, on that last computer I was looking at, one of them was saying,
Access granted.
I need you to get rid of the Mexican president, because that, in Picus at least, is something that you can and should do. Oh, Nicolette de Clare. There's another familiar name. Apparently she was also working here. Boxes. Oh. And a reward behind the boxes. Can probably get rid of some ammunition to pick that up. Like so. Now, of course, I don't need a silencer because every weapon that I have that can be silenced is silenced. But it is considerably more valuable than ammunition, so I'm going to hang on to it for now. Alright, and there's one guy who's talking. He says that we should worry more about the terrorism than about the upcoming civil war. And there is an upcoming civil war. That is another part of Deus Ex's backstory. Is that pretty soon there's going to be a massive earthquake in California, and after the lack of response from the American government,
Access granted.
California, most of the West Coast, will attempt to break away from the United States, along with Texas, because Texas was just looking for the excuse. But yeah, that earthquake hasn't happened yet in 2027, but it won't be much longer. Oh, right. I've looked at that one already. And I've been all the way around there, so yeah. Nothing left but the funicular. There's a keypad in the way, but it is the only way down, so it's a level 1 keypad. Just looking at this thing, it looks like I could hack the stack if I wanted to. I guess I just didn't notice until I was already winning.
Access granted.
Jensen, I've been tracking your progress through the 3D layout. You're close to the funicular.
Any chance it's sitting there waiting for me?
Where would the fun be in that? You'll have to call it and wait. Oh, and Jensen, when you do, they're going to know where you are.
Alright, that sounds like a problem. can I go from here? Oh, there's a ladder. That goes back up. Maybe I was mistaken. Oh, crap. That was not the button I meant to press. But, yeah, actually I was mistaken. That weak wall is a way down, not a way up. So, in fact, you do not have to hack the door to get in. Sneaky little bastard, he says. Just you wait. Because these guys are the stealth guys. Like, you didn't get to see it from these two guys because I ambushed them. But these are the ones who can turn invisible. Sneakers. Uh-oh. Somebody else around here. They must have been alerted by the gunshots. Or something. Ah, there they go. Well, I don't think they can really hear me from over here. Not when I'm not blasting away their companions. So, there is some room to explore here before walking over there. Not really too much for me to use in these lockers. Oh. See there? And that is way too low res for me to read. Now, this must be the storage area that they were supposed to check. So, oh my. A heavy rifle and a whole bunch of ammunition. Interesting thing for a newsroom to have. Just sort of lying around in a storage area. Like, I mean, even if they do, you know, contract with Bell Tower here, and they do, to handle security, you would think that the Bell Tower Armory would be located somewhere away from where the civilians could access it. Someone set off the alarm again. That's annoying. But yeah, that's all the storage areas around here. So all that's left are the two guys and a camera and a turret and the funicular room itself, the funicular lobby. I don't know if I need 2 shots to kill these guys, but you know what? It's better safe than sorry. Oh yeah. Going to need that for later. Uh-oh. Turret spotted me. Oh jeez, and I can shoot through the window. Well, luckily it didn't get more than a glancing blow. And now... Yep, that vending machine was hiding an access route that takes you straight to the security hub. Now the turret is mine, the camera is off. I have nothing more to worry about from this area. Ooh, mine templates. But yeah, you may recall that Francis mentioned that we are, in fact, going to have to prepare for a quick siege here. Let's see here. Yep, that stacks. Now I can take everything. So, let's set you somewhere where you can do a little more damage, perhaps. And let's turn off the alarm. There we go. There. Great. Now you can see down 2 corridors, and you're blocking the doorway. Oh, I got a free hypostim too. That's nice. Yeah, a lot of places to sort of crawl around through here. And sneak from one end of this hallway to the other. Lobby, I guess. And this, in fact, is another way to get... Oh, actually just outside of the back where the security hub is. So that's a little bit of a more dangerous route. But you don't have to go past the windows. And on this little overlook area here, got a ladder you just saw, we passed. And we've got this back room that has nothing in it, but is a nice place to wait everything out and avoid getting shot in the process. But yeah, let's move this a little bit further into the doorway here. Yeah, no one's getting past that now. And, you know, I've got this other vending machine here. But you know, I've also got another turret I could use. It's just up this way. Let me just go grab it here. And yeah, I'm not gonna force you to wait. So here we are now. That's where I'm putting the other turret. Excuse the lack of transitions, but I ran into some technical difficulties with trying to implement them on this video. When it gets too long, it gets weird.
That's done it. They'll be converging on your position, and the funicular will take some time to get there. It isn't a high-speed elevator.
Right.
Not to worry. I'm sure your new friends will make the wait interesting. I'll keep you up to date on his progress.
Thanks for nothing, Francis.
How did he get past the turret? And why did he run in front of it? Now that's the real pressing question. Who's... you're firing. Invisible man. Like I said. Sneaky bastards. But yeah, that's what your invisibility looks like when someone else is using it. You can spot them. And enemies can actually kind of spot you too. I guess he just went visible for a second there. Must have done it again.
The funicular is halfway there, Jensen.
And by the way, this is time-based. Completely time-based. Like, if you just blocked off the doorways and did nothing else, you could just wait and not hurt anybody, and then just, you know, head downstairs. No problems. No issues. Any of the people you take down or kill, the number is up to you. What you want to do as you wait. But yeah, you can see people on the radar even though they aren't showing up because they're invisible. But see through walls. Now that can actually make them show up. But only if you're inside the right radius. That's the trouble I'm sort of running into right here. I guess they got spooked or something and they don't want to come downstairs. Ah, there's the guy.
Your ride is there, Jensen. Get moving.
Yep, like I said. Oh, hey. They aren't showing up on the radar anymore. Let's do something a little more accurate here. There we go. Jeez. I'm getting some more pro energy bars here, or packs. Alright. That takes care of everybody. At least everybody who shows up on the radar. Could be another couple of sneakers around here somewhere. But I doubt it. They would have fired on me by now. Alright, well that's that. Let's head downstairs at an angle.
Jensen, I'm beginning to think that not everything is what it appears to be at Pike's Communications.
And what gave you that idea? The hidden sub-basement, the fact that a 24-hour news network has been cleared of all workers, or the heavily armed guards trying to kill me?
Spare me the sarcasm. I'm talking about how easy it's been to bypass the firewall and access their systems. At least, parts of them.
Whatever do you mean?
I mean, I feel as if I'm being directed to some areas of the network and kept away from others. Only no security system I know of can do that on the fly.
Figure it out later, Pritchard. If I'm gonna catch Miss Kassan in action, I need a more accurate destination than the secret lair.
The hollow processing cloud you encountered in room 404 was accompanied by a massive power spike. The spike originated in one of the sub-basement's bigger rooms, 80211. I suspect that's where she broadcasts from.
Okay, so why are the numbers on the wall here counting up? We were clearly several stories away from the ground floor before the background disappeared. So this is not counting sub-basement levels here. We are still on our way down to the ground level. Presumably the funicular goes down like 1 or 2 levels below that to reach the sub-basement. But that aside, they're counting stories in the wrong direction, and that is really weird to me. Okay, here we are, just below level 22, which is probably floor -2 under a normal counting system. Oh, it's nice that you can get up here. But you know, I'm going to leave the rest of the sub-basement for another video. For today's episode, I'm traveling into another previously untapped territory, Japanese animation, also known as anime. I probably don't have to tell you this, but Japan has a long tradition of animation, and I'll be exploring it in today's AV Corner with a 1995 movie you might have heard of, Ghost in the Shell. The story about the story. Much like in America, animation got its big start in Japan thanks to Walt Disney. Oh, they certainly knew how to make animated shorts before Disney got going, but with his company pushing the envelope in the 1930s, Japanese studios really couldn't compete until the middle of the decade. And by then, they were being just as derivative as the American studios, creating merry melodies, Looney Tunes, and happy harmonies to compete with Disney's silly symphonies. And then World War II got started early in the Pacific, so the first feature-length anime was a 1940s propaganda film. Between the post-war reconstruction and the long time it takes to create any animation, it would take until the late 50s and early 60s for Japanese animators to start releasing significant works again. The biggest milestone from this period would have to be the first anime TV show, Tetsuwan Atom, released in America as Astro Boy. Astro Boy still bore a strong resemblance to Disney's art style, but it was starting to evolve in a different direction. It was also about a robot boy, instead of talking animals or fairy tales, making it a good early indicator of anime's ongoing love affair with science fiction. A lot of stuff happened in the 3 decades between Astro Boy and Ghost in the Shell, and while it's all fascinating, it's mostly not relevant. Suffice it to say that anime hit new levels of popularity in the 80s thanks to shows like Mobile Suit Gundam and Macross, and movies like Nausicaa and Laputa. Much like in America, most animation was aimed at kids rather than adults. But unlike America, this included shows made for teenage audiences, instead of just families with young kids. Thanks to this expanded market, and the expanded sensibilities that came along with it, when home video players started showing up in the late 80s, animation studios started experimenting by releasing unrated direct-to-video shows called Original Video Animations, or OVAs. OVAs went through minimal censorship since they didn't play on TV, so you could put in a lot of immature violence, sex, and gore. And out of them came a few actually mature works that redefined what an animated show or movie could cover. I mean, America had its own animators trying to expand the media's appeal, but Japan had overall more success in doing so. And that was the landscape into which Ghost in the Shell appeared. Ghost in the Shell began in 1989 as a manga series, a Japanese comic book both written and illustrated by Masamune Shirow. It takes place in a very cyberpunk world, but the protagonists aren't exactly a bunch of low-class slobs. Ghost in the Shell follows more in Deus Ex's vein, although I guess I should say it's more the other way around, by being about elite cyborgs working for a counter-terrorist organization. Anime director Mamoru Oshii decided to adapt the story mainly as a way to guarantee some crowd-pleasing action scenes, since the works he normally creates tend to be philosophical and dialogue-heavy. Ghost in the Shell was one of the first anime movies to fully incorporate CGI into animation. Disney, because of course it was Disney, first experimented with combining the two in 1990 and 91, in The Rescuers Down Under and Beauty and the Beast. But in exchange for coming later, Ghost in the Shell blends the two much more thoroughly. The animators scanned cell animations onto a computer, and then they added digital effects, like depth of field filters, special effects like the invisibility camouflage, and lighting effects that you normally can't do with cells without a lot of expensive copying or a very fancy rig. Ghost in the Shell wasn't a big hit when it premiered in Japan in 1995, but it became a cult classic in America when they released a dubbed version the next year. This is particularly remarkable since it came before the big American anime boom of the late 90s and early aughts. And it was the most successful direct-to-video anime to ever come out in America at that point. The story. Before I begin, I should mention that I'm watching the 25th Anniversary Edition, which is in high definition, but otherwise doesn't have the updated CGI or the re-recorded dialogue of the Ghost in the Shell 2.0 re-release. The movie begins with the protagonist, a full-body cyborg named Major Makoto Kusanagi, listening in on a secret meeting using her built-in surveillance technology. The police bust in on the meeting and attempt to bring in a diplomat for kidnapping a programmer and trying to smuggle him out of the country, but according to the diplomat, the programmer had requested asylum. So Makoto shoots his head off through the window and gets away by jumping off the side of the building and turning invisible with thermoptic camouflage. This is typical of how her organization, Section 9, operates. After the credit sequence ends, Makoto and the head of Section 9, Chief Aramaki, discuss how a hacker called the Puppet Master has been hacking into the brains or ghosts of several top aides. His most likely goal is to assassinate someone during a top diplomatic negotiation. Makoto heads to her next destination with Togusa, a man who is remarkable in Section 9 for having almost no augmentations and for having been promoted out of the police force. As Makoto explains, this is so Section 9 will have an agent who reacts differently from the rest. A genetic throwback to cover all the bases. The two of them are on their way to check up on Ishikawa and Bato, two more agents who have been trying to trace the hacker. Turns out, he got a trash collector to be his patsy. When the garbage collector learns the police are onto him, he races to the next stop to warn the nice man leaving hacking chips for him to use. Makoto and Bato chase their target into a busy market, and to make a long chase scene short, Makoto catches up and kicks his ass. Oh yeah, I figure I should also mention that the name and the nationality of the city that this takes place in are intentionally left unsaid in every version of the story. Still, this movie uses Hong Kong as its model thanks to its clashing old and new architecture. Sadly, the perp has no useful information because his ghost was hacked, his mind was wiped, and his backstory is nothing but a convenient lie for the puppet master. Even the garbage collector was ghost hacked. That evening, Makoto goes diving in the harbor, and Bato joins her. They talk about how their cybernetic bodies are owned by Section 9, and how Makoto has identity issues, what with her being a brain in the wrong body. And then the puppet master hacks Makoto's brain to force her to quote 1 Corinthians 13:12. Later on, a cybernetic body escapes a government contractor's plant despite not having a meat brain inside. In fact, it seems to have its own ghost, even though that should be impossible. Makoto decides that she'll find the ghost herself, since she's still having that identity crisis from earlier. However, Section 6, the diplomatic wing, shows up to take the cyborg body into custody. Then Togusa starts getting suspicious and discovers that someone wearing thermoptic camouflage has snuck in with the diplomats. As Makoto watches from a surveillance room, the Section 6 chief explains that the ghost in the body is the puppet master. They lured him into the cyborg and then killed his original body. Or that was the plan. The female cyborg starts speaking in a masculine voice, saying it never had an original body and it wants political asylum. It claims to be the result of a Project 2501 gaining sentience from exposure to the internet, which was a much less done-to-death storyline back in the 90s. Anyway, the Section 9 chief denies the asylum since the puppet master is a wanted criminal, but then some electronics blow up and someone invisible grabs the puppet master and escapes out the side of the building into a waiting car. Fortunately, Togusa was expecting this, and he fires a tracker at it as it flees the sea. As Makoto and Bato go after the puppet master, Ishikawa does some digging and finds out that Section 6 and an American, Dr. Willis, may be responsible for creating Project 2501. That's why they wanted the cyborg's body. They were trying to clean up their mess after their AI went rogue. The reason they stole it from Section 9 was to make sure it couldn't talk before they destroyed it. The fleeing suspects create a decoy that splits the team up, and so Makoto is alone when the sedan she was following ducks into an abandoned museum. This is a problem because the sedan is defended by an invisible spider tank. To make a long action scene short, Makoto tears off her arms and a leg trying to open the tank's hatch, and only survives because Bato shows up just in time with an anti-tank rifle. As a Section 6 sniper team flies in to try and destroy both 2501 and Makoto, Makoto dives into the cyborg's body. The puppet master starts speaking again, repeating that it's a Section 6 project that became self-aware and adding that it's been looking for Makoto for some time now. He wants to become a fully living organism, and that means gaining the ability to reproduce and to die. So he wants to merge with Makoto and become a completely new entity. He chose her because her personality apparently resembles his own. Then the snipers fire, forcing Makoto to make her decision. Makoto, or more properly the Gestalt entity she became, awakens in an unfamiliar room in an unfamiliar, childlike body. Bato walks in and explains that the body was all he could find on the black market. He managed to save Makoto's brain from the snipers, and so he put it in there. As the new entity leaves Bato's safe house, she quotes 1 Corinthians 13:11 and walks off into the city. The analysis. Let me start by quoting the complete verse from 1 Corinthians 13. This is from the New International Version. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection, as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. This passage is the source of the phrase "through a glass darkly," since that's how the King James Version translates it. The context of this passage is that Paul is describing the power of God's love. Just like how you don't understand the world when you're a child, you cannot see the whole truth unless you bathe in the light of God's love. Of course, Ghost in the Shell doesn't use this passage in a religious sense, and without that context, it's more about changing from child to adult, and from adult into something more. It's about the perspective and the understanding you gain from maturity. It's like the lyrics from Amazing Grace. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now can see. The reason I'm going into depth about this Bible quote is because the movie basically analyzes itself. The characters discuss the film's themes and their implications quite thoroughly, including the nature of life, the importance and the fallibility of memory, the question of where personhood begins and ends, the way we change and become different people over time, and the question of whether humanity will merge with machines in the future, and just what shape that would take. Will we become brains in titanium jars, hooked into bodies that aren't our own? Will we merge with artificial intelligence? And who or what will we be when this happens? Could we recognize ourselves? Do we even need to? I've said before that a good work should ask questions and not provide answers, and that is certainly true in the case of Ghost in the Shell. Characters have opinions and perspectives on all of these themes, but it's obvious that their answers, when they have any, are self-serving and self-interested. As such, the movie isn't telling you to agree with them. Still, Ghost in the Shell does lose something for being so blatant. It is good to have some blatant works out there, since there are people who will always miss a more subtle message or theme. Hell, the dystopia genre consists almost entirely of blatant condemnations of creeds and ideals. But the value of subtlety is the way it sneaks into your brain. When a message is blunt and obvious, it becomes easy to ignore and cast aside, especially if you disagree with it or you don't want to think about it. But a subtle message worms its way into your brain without you being able to identify or discard it. It makes it possible for you to think about the theme without knowing why you started wondering or why you suddenly have an expanded viewpoint on the issue. A subtle theme certainly isn't guaranteed to work out like this, or to be noticed at all, but when it does work, it can work wonders. So, Ghost in the Shell is worth watching for the visual artistry and for the milestone in animation it represents, and it's also a good way to trick an action movie fan into thinking about the nature of self-identity. However, if you want a work you can really sink your teeth into, there are other movies and books you should try. Thanks for joining me again today in AV Corner, and I hope you'll join me next time when I examine artificial intelligence technology.